It was a Friday afternoon, and I just dropped my old Volvo off at the shop for some routine maintenance. Instead of taking me to the office like usual, the mechanic offered to give me a ride home since he was heading that way anyway. He promised to bring the car back later in the day. Honestly, the timing was perfect. It was a warm, late spring day, just the kind of weather that begged for some time outside. The grass was greening up, birds were chirping, and I could feel the pull to get some yard work done before the weekend. The office could wait. I wanted to skip the grind and enjoy the sunshine in my own backyard. Our yard is pretty big, a decent slice of green with plenty of trees and flower beds. I was out near the far fence line, raking up stubborn piles of old leaves that had clung around through the winter. The sound of the rake scraping the ground was oddly soothing, and I was lost in the rhythm when I caught sight of a bright red Corvette rolling up the driveway. My brother's car, and more importantly, my brother himself, showing up unannounced. I muttered to myself, "Great, just what I needed." The only time he ever comes by is to borrow something, and he hardly ever returns any of it. I felt a familiar irritation bubble up inside. As I walked closer to the driveway, I heard my son Sam's voice cutting through the quiet. "Yo, Dad, what are you doing in the land of wimps?" Sam called out, loud and playful. "Wait, hold up, Dad?" I froze. Why was Sam calling my brother Dad? That didn't make any damn sense. And what was this land of wimps nonsense anyway? That sounded like some kind of inside joke I hadn't been let in on. My brother just shrugged casually and said, "I'm dropping off Uncle Joe's circular saw." I totally blew out the power cord on it. "Joe's got to fix it so I can finish that project at my place." Sam shot back without missing a beat. "Is Clueless Joe around?" "Clueless Joe?" my brother said, grinning. "Hey, I'm Joe, and clueless ain't exactly the word I'd pick for myself." I shook my head. Man, maybe I really was clueless if they were calling each other stuff like that and I was left out of the loop. I decided to hang back by the garage and listen in on this weird A conversation. Something about it didn't sit right. I pulled out my phone quietly and started recording. Maybe this could help me figure out what the hell was going on. Sam kept talking. "Clueless car ain't home right now. He usually drags in after 5, and honestly, I try to avoid spending too much time with him. So no, he's not here." My brother's voice softened a bit as Sam asked, "Hey, after school's out, when can I crash at your place? It's way more fun there than at Mom's." My brother sounded a little serious, even sympathetic. "I'd love to have you over, but your mom's soaking up every minute with you. You're her only kid. She's going to be pretty lonely when you're not around." Sam rolled his eyes. "Cut her some slack, all right? She's got you Thursday afternoon, right? I'll ask her if you can stay with me for a week or two this summer. That'd be sick." That's when my stomach twisted like a knife hearing Sam say, "Why doesn't Mom just ditch Clueless and move in with you?" What? She's been spending all her days at my brother's place? Seriously? No way. Hell no. My brain started snapping pieces together, and none of it made me feel good. Was I really the clueless one here? Was I the fool? My mind raced fast, trying to process everything. Then Eric, that's my brother, started bragging like it was nothing. "Ever since she got knocked up with you," Eric said with a cocky grin, "I've been asking her every damn month. And she tells me, 'Nah, you're great and all, but you'd be a terrible husband.' I've got a husband I love and cherish. Every minute with him makes me feel like the luckiest woman alive. I love him. And you? Not so much." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. So that's the deal? She won't leave Joe Tyndall, my own brother, but still sneaks around with me whenever she feels like it? Eric smirked and said, "I gotta bounce now, but I'll catch you tomorrow at noon at your grandparents' for the family birthday party and Memorial Day lunch." At that moment, my legs just gave out under me like wet noodles. I slid down the garage wall and landed hard in the hosta bed. Everything shattered around me. Finding out that my son wasn't biologically mine felt like the smallest slice of this nightmare. The real punch was knowing my wife had gotten pregnant by my own brother and still kept hooking up with him regularly behind my back. Somehow, I forced myself back to work. I sat down on the rope swing in the backyard, the same one where I used to push Sam for hours when he was a little kid. And there I just broke down. I cried until the dirt underneath me turned to mud. I didn't know what the hell to do next. Before I could make any decisions, I had to get the full picture, the whole truth. That's when I remembered something important. The DNA test we took a few years ago. Carol, Sam, and I all did that 23andMe test together as a family. How could that be wrong? But then the worst thought hit me. What if Carol threw out my test and swapped Eric's saliva sample under my name to cover up who Sam's real father was? That was a low blow, The kind that cuts deep. They erased my entire family history and replaced it with some idiots. They kept me blind, deliberately hiding the truth that I wasn't Sam's real dad. Any hope I had of fixing this or understanding it was crushed. I had no choice but to face this screwed up reality head on and try to find a way out. My name's Joe Tyndall, 43 years old, about 175 pounds, same as college. I'm skinny, never a jock. In high school, I was a runner on the track team. I still run a few miles each week, but work and family slow me down now. Sometimes I do charity 5Ks or 10Ks. I'm finance and operations director at Tyndall's Machine Company, the family biz. My great-grandpa started as a blacksmith, fixing wagon wheels. My grandpa and dad kept upgrading the tools. Now we make precision aerospace parts and metal spares. Dad, Edward, is president. My brother Eric runs marketing. Dad didn't go to college, but went to a trade school. I've got degrees in industrial engineering and accounting, so I handle CFO and COO stuff. Eric's the opposite of me. 6'3", bigger by 50 pounds, a loud, cocky athlete. He was the star on the high school soccer team and got a small college scholarship. I had to work and take loans to pay for college. Eric barely graduated because teachers passed him just so he could keep playing. His degree in PE hasn't helped him much. He started at Tyndall as a junior mechanic, but he's no precision guy. Instead, he used his name and size to charm and sometimes bully customers. He's good at it, brought business in, but we fought sometimes. He wanted commission on new sales, which wasn't crazy, but he already made good money, like me. I told him, fine, you get that, but I want all the patent money from my work. Dad gave in to Eric easily, but I had to fight hard for my share. My wife Carol and I met because she liked how I looked. I worked with my dad after college. Carol was an English teacher with just a high school diploma. We met jogging and married a year later at her church. 2 years in, we wanted kids. We tried everything, but Carol couldn't get pregnant. We didn't want tests yet. Too soon. I was crushed. I wanted 2 kids, no matter what. Then, a couple months later, Carol got her period. She didn't say a word to anyone, not even me. Pregnancy was tough. Last 2 months, she had to stay in bed. Labor was brutal. We almost lost her and our son. We named him Sam. He's a wild kid, always moving. Carol hates how rough we get wrestling on the floor. We spent hours tossing balls, kicking around. His grades aren't great, but above average. After Sam turned 15, things changed. I thought it was normal teen stuff, but he stopped talking to me. Too busy, he said, glued to his phone and Game Boy. Then he got rude. I think he saw being an accountant as weak or lame. Maybe because he's bigger and stronger than me now. Carol's still the perfect wife. She's smart and runs McKinley School, a place for kids who struggle with school and fights. Her job's stressful, and sometimes she snaps at me over little things. But when it's bedtime, she's always sweet. So imagine my shock when I hear Eric telling Sam he's his real dad and has been messing around with Carol for 17 years. No way, I thought. But what did I really know? Sam's built like Eric and Dad, not me. Something felt off. That night, I watched Carol close. Nothing looked wrong. Dinner was fun. Sam left to pick up friends, said he'd be back by 11. Carol and I started cleaning up. She told me, load the dishwasher, I gotta hit the bathroom. I turned back, and she was just wearing a lace apron. She smiled. Get to work. I've got plans for you tonight. We laughed, joked, then went to bed. We got busy. Next morning, Saturday, we were headed to my folks' place for lunch. Dad's 70th. Carol hates driving my Volvo, and Sam wanted to roll solo to leave early. So we all piled into her Lexus. At the door, Mom, Sally, hugged us in order. Carol, Sam, then me. Dad did the same. Then I watched Eric and Carol. Eric hugged Sam tight, then reached for Carol. Eric's hug was full on, but Carol, cold, like she was bored or annoyed. Not what you'd expect from people who'd been having fun for 17 years. When things got quiet, I dropped a line. Eric, I need our finance guy Thursday afternoon. You going to be at the office to cover for me? Eric said, nope, Joe. Got a big project. Carol sniffed and blew her nose. Her iced tea bubbled. I was close. I smirked. Big project got you sweating. Nah, I've worked with this guy before. Always win. Carol's eyes burned hotter than any plasma cutter. Her face drained white. No one made a sound. Not even a fork or ice clink. Dead silence. All 5 of them looked shaky, like they all knew the dirty truth. They were sweating. I played dumb, but I knew what was up. Dad broke it. All right, let's check calendars. Glad you're here for my birthday. My grandpa bought this land long ago. He'd be proud to see it's still ours, and the business is growing under Eric and Joe. I'm stepping down as president. Eric's taking over. We're changing pay. Joe's new salary is 75% of Eric's. But with Joe's patent money, you'll both be close. Carol squeezed my hand, smiling. So I report to Eric now? Eric, who can't tell a CNC machine from a popcorn popper, running the company. Disaster waiting to happen. Eric shot back. Look, bro, I've always been the boss. You're just the small-time salesman. You gotta be alpha to run this. Deal with it. I win, you lose. Dad cut in. Enough, boys. Eric, you're not boss yet. I'm still chairman. I own the stock. You run things my way. This company's been ours over 100 years. I won't let it fall apart on my watch. We're Tyndalls. Legacy matters. He pointed at old pics on the wall, but it felt empty. I asked, Dad, which one's Grandpa? Left, then my dad, then me. I said, look at these pics. Don't see myself in any of you. Not build, not hair, not face. Eric and Sam look like Tyndalls, but not me. What's up with that? Mom's shoulders tensed. Her face went gray. Dad's turned red. Everyone looked at each other, silent. I dropped it. So, what's the family secret? Dad sighed. Your mom and I planned to get married, but she got drunk at a party and got pregnant. She thought she was having me? We didn't know she was pregnant before the wedding. We were shocked, but happy. You were weak, stunted as a kid, thought it was pregnancy issues. You were sick a lot, almost lost you to mumps. Took years before we found out you weren't my biological son. Mom hid an affair before we married. Said you looked like that other guy. When DNA tests came, we checked. You're not my kid. You're Eric's. That explained a lot about how I was treated compared to Eric. Not the bombshell I expected, but it flipped everything. I was trying to figure out Sam's real dad, and bam, this hit me. Mom said, doesn't change how much we love you. You're our son. That was sweet, but what about what Sam and Eric said? I asked. Okay, Dad, that explains me. But why doesn't Sam look like you or Eric? Why is he different? The room was tight with silence before Edward finally dropped the bomb. Joe, you and Carol tried so damn hard to have a kid that it crushed her. She broke down and went straight to your mom for help. Turns out you had mumps bad enough to wreck your balls. Infertile as hell. So your mom and I, we figured, for the sake of your marriage and the Tyndall legacy, Eric had to step in and knock Carol up. At first, Carol fought it. And the hell, who wouldn't? But then, she saw the bigger picture. The family needed a Tyndall kid. You wanted a family, Joe, and Eric gave you what you couldn't. We hoped it'd stay buried, but DNA and all that genetic crap don't lie. It hit me like a punch to the gut. My head spun. Rage, disbelief, pure chaos. No words could touch the mess inside. Mom and Carol squeezed me from both sides, tears streaking their faces. They thought their hugs could patch me up. Mom whispered, my son, I'm proud of you. Carol, soft and shaky, my husband, I love you. Like that made it easier. Edward stepped closer. Joe, we hoped you'd see it as love. Family doing what's gotta be done. I spat back, love, love. Edward, can I call you Edward since you ain't my damn dad? What kind of love humiliates me in front of everyone? What's wrong with you people? Sam snorted, loud enough to cut through the tension. Now you get it, old man. Imagine how it felt when the kids thought you were my dad, not the real man, Eric. Jeez. Eyes shot to Sam like he'd just lit a match in a powder keg. Carol smacked Sam hard across the face. Joe was the best damn dad you ever had. He busts his A for you. I've seen trash fathers, but Joe, he's top tier. Count yourself lucky. I laughed, bitter as poison. Oh yeah? Why didn't you tell me sooner? Why leave me in the dark all these years? Bet you lot were snickering behind my back while I bragged about my perfect son. You even called me Misunderstood Joe. Nice touch. Silence choked the room, like they were waiting for me to explode. Edward shrugged, cold as ice. We couldn't break you down, Joe. You're the brains at the plant. We needed you steady, running the show. Hell, the recruiter said we're paying you peanuts compared to what a CFO or COO would get. My voice sharpened, cutting through the nonsense. So you screwed me over. Made my wife breed with my brother to keep the Tyndall bloodline pure. You paid me scraps, kept me chained to your damn company so your pockets stay fat. You fed me dreams I'd take over, but blood means more than brains here. Damn right, I can't believe the crap you dumped on me today. What's next? You gonna tell me she's still screwing my brother on the side? The room froze. Nobody dared deny it. Then Carol, voice trembling, finally whispered, Joe, I'm sorry. I hate him with everything. But work's a nightmare and he keeps me sane. I don't love him, I swear. She crumpled onto the floor. My body wanted to reach for her. But my mind screamed, "No, you brought this on yourself." My voice was cold, sharp. "Sorry? Son? You call me son after tearing my life apart? After treating me like garbage compared to Eric? You pushed my wife into this sick game and called that love? Laughing at me behind my back while you ripped my heart out? I'm done. I'm done with all of you snake fools. You played me like a fool." I stormed for the door. A giant hand grabbed my arm. Eric's smirk was a slap. "Look, Joe, I get it. Since it means so much, I'm done entertaining your wife. Here, she's all yours." What nerve. Handing back my broken wife like some damn trophy. I tried to pull free, but Eric spun me hard. The movement was my chance. I struck him fast and low. Carol and Sam lunged at Eric. Sam shouted, "You fool! You bloody fool!" Hypocrisy dripping from every word. Carol was on Eric's back, kicking like hell. "You a hole! You deserve this!" The house was a war zone now, blood boiling, hate spilling everywhere. I peeled out of that mini riot and jumped into Carol's car, backing out fast. And of course, I clipped the driver's side of Eric's precious Corvette. No big deal, right? Then, as I rolled out of the driveway, I bumped the passenger side of Edward's brand new F-150. Man, between the pain and the shame, I barely kept the car straight on the road. Luckily, I spotted an empty gas station nearby and pulled over to catch a breather. At first, I just bawled like my throat was drying up for good. Then rage exploded inside me, like fireworks on the 4th of July. I knocked the hell out of the vinyl dashboard. Felt like that was all I could do. Finally, exhaustion hit me hard. My arms and legs went weak and my head went blank. That buzzing. It was my phone sitting on the floor blowing up with texts and calls from that snake. My ex, Carol. Took a deep breath and asked myself, what now? There was no undoing what they'd done. I wasn't just the sucker in this mess. I was a fool for real, since my mom never even married my biological dad. Yeah, talk about a total crap storm. 3 days ago, I was king of the world. Now, just stuck in a world of crap. The only thing that didn't totally suck was that I had options. I could stay clueless Joe, keep my head down, and maybe get a raise. But that'd mean reporting to Eric or Edward, working under those two snakes. Seeing them every day, knowing what they'd done, no way I was signing up for that. So, option 1 was out. Option 2 was slipping out of town quietly, letting the Tyndall circus keep spinning, leaving one chair empty at the dinner table. But they wouldn't give a damn. They didn't care when I was around, so why would they care if I bounced? Not for me either. Maybe I could mix option 2 with option 3. Option 3? Getting involved with the snake family, but on my terms. To make them regret every lie, every cheat, every humiliating thing they dumped on me. Hell yeah, option 3 sounded like the move. But first, I had to deal with the mess. The busted car, the hose left in the yard instead of the driveway. I was 20 miles out from home, with my computer and all my important papers packed in the Volvo. Clothes for the next few months were in there too. Everything else I cared about, but didn't need right now, was shoved in Sam's 2017 Acura. That damn dog Bullet wouldn't leave me alone. Whenever I tried to sneak off, he'd whine like he wanted outside. Always a pain in the A. Honestly, I was ready to be done with cleaning up his poop, feeding him, walking a dog that never liked me anyway. Speaking of poop, Bullet did me a solid by dropping a steaming pile right next to the house. I laughed as I scooped it up and carried it into the bedroom. On our marital bed lay a quilt, something my mom and grandma made. They called it the engagement ring quilt because most squares had wedding ring patterns, others made from clothes Carol and I wore as kids. Our names and wedding dates stitched in there like a patchwork memory box. Perfect place for a fresh dog turd to take center stage. And, topping it all off, my wedding ring sitting right on the steaming mess. No doubt Carol would catch the symbolism loud and clear. The pictures of that hoe and Eric's kid stacked up on her fancy cherry wood dining table. I covered them with a towel, just in case, and grabbed a hammer. I drove the biggest nail I could find right through the whole stack. Glass shattered everywhere. Done. I was ready to move on. Nothing and no one here made me want to stay. I loaded up the Volvo and headed to some extended stay on the other side of town. After unloading, I went to the airport, parked the car long-term, and rented a ride from Hertz. Got to keep the snakes from tracking me down. The rental took me to my new hideout. An Uber picked me up to grab Sam's car so I could stash it in storage. Once I settled in, I'd unload it and sell it. After all, it was under my name since Sam couldn't get insured. After a couple speeding tickets and a pizza with beer delivered to my room, I laid low. Didn't want to face anyone. Had projects to finish. Moving money around so only I could touch it. Joint credit cards. paid off and shut down. Left her the last two paychecks in the joint account and kept the rest for myself. As for Sam's college fund, yeah, I tapped that dry. He'd have to hustle harder now and maybe ask his real dad for help. That night, my head was spinning. I kept thinking about the good stuff, wishing I could rewind time. But my gut knew the truth. The people I cared about didn't give a damn about me. So why should I give a damn about them? This reset made me not Clumsy Joe anymore. No way. I was Scary Joe now, tomorrow. Scary Joe was going to roll up to the Tyndall factory. It's Sunday, so no one be in the office. Man, I was already looking forward to that day. Funny thing, that thought helped me sleep better than I had in weeks. I parked my rental a good distance from the front of Tyndall Manufacturing. Sure, I could have used my usual spot, but I didn't want anyone spotting me right away. After killing the security alarm and then rearming it so no one would know a thing, I headed to my office. As CFO, I had the keys to every financial account. Tyndall had 7 accounts scattered around, so I pulled all the cash into one main account, leaving just enough to cover 2 payroll checks. The company's line of credit was maxed out, so I dumped that balance into the main pot too. Then I transferred the whole pile to our offshore account in the Caymans. Still company money, but good luck trying to pin anything illegal on me. I was only guilty of getting played. That Cayman account wasn't new. We'd set it up years ago to handle transactions with European partners, a legit clearinghouse. Now the real fun started. I changed usernames and passwords on every single account. No one was getting in anytime soon. Since none of the banks bothered sending paper or email statements anymore, laughable, I switched the mailing address to some random spot in Montana, 101 Big Tree Street 2, Montana 59085. I fired off emails canceling electric, gas, water, phone, and internet bills too. The Tyndall crew had been hoarding paper records forever, but I'd started pushing cloud storage 5 years ago. Now all our files lived online, except for vehicle and warranty papers. Finance had access, but only I could add or delete files. I swapped all passwords and logins. No one was sneaking a peek at the accounts under my watch. I changed all the passwords on the networked CNC machines next. Then I hit Eric's office, hoping to dig up some dirt on his computer. Didn't take long. Found a bunch of video files of him entertaining the staff, the locals' wives, and, of course, Carol. I copied everything to my flash drive, but left the computer untouched. That kind of revenge was saved for later. Last stop, the back room. Not just any room, a damn fortress. Thick concrete walls and the main power line ran through there. Tyndall Manufacturing guzzled electricity like crazy. And with all those machines humming, one wrong move with the wires and you'd be gone in a flash. Only the electrician and I had access. The electric company's red tape would take days to cut off our power. So I disconnected everything in that safe room myself, then swapped out the locks. When they finally figured out the breakers trip because of that transformer box, the lights would already be dead. That heavy door, good luck getting through it. All the keys to rooms, closets, warehouses, trucks, offices, machines, I tossed them in a bucket of cleaning fluid to wipe off any fingerprints or clues. It was damn sad leaving the place I'd grown up in, the building I wanted to call my forever workplace. I dreamed of running the company as president, with Sam right behind me handling the day-to-day. But those dreams had turned into nightmares, just like most of the rest of my life. During my time at Tyndall, I hit every industry convention, sat through every meeting and breakout session. Meanwhile, Eric and his crew hit the bars and strip clubs. Now those spots were my new hunting grounds. I didn't bother opening the flood of messages, calls, and emails from my so-called family. Same old crap. We love you. We're sorry you're upset, but we did what we did for you, not against you. Please sit down with us or your wife so we can explain. My mom even begged Edward to forgive her for getting me pregnant, and they stayed married. So why couldn't I do the same with Carol and Sam? Then the number 17 popped into my head. 17 years, Carol had fun with Edward, while my son's mom was just some one-night stand. Tuesday morning, I called my lawyer, Bob Carson, to talk strategy. He had a slot open at 3 p.m., so I went back to my place and gathered all the paperwork he'd need. I wanted to file for divorce on infidelity grounds, but that'd mean forcing her out of state. I didn't see her agreeing to that. I told Bob about the consequences of her cheating and made it clear I didn't want to pay alimony. I was fine splitting everything 50-50. I didn't own any shares in Tyndall Manufacturing, just a salary and some patent income. The company paid me peanuts, hoping I'd climb to president and stockholder one day. Carol's principal salary wasn't far off from mine. Bob figured the case should be easy unless she fought back. The plan was to get the paperwork ready and filed ASAP, preferably at her school. After all, she'd humiliated me enough. It was time she felt some shame. At the lawyer's office, I also told him about moving the Tyndall funds around. Since I was CFO, the company gave me permission to shuffle money between accounts. I didn't steal a dime, the money was still theirs, but I made damn sure they'd have a hell of a time getting it back. Bob thought I was playing with fire. Joe, if Tyndall loses money because of this, they can sue you and probably win. I just shrugged. What assets do I have for them to go after? And do you think they want me explaining in court why I did all this in front of the whole town? No way. Opening this Pandora's box would bury them too. He shook his head and said he'd need a $3,000 retainer. From the list of manufacturers I'd met and wanted to work with, it didn't take long to lock down 3 meetings. These companies weren't just interested in my skills, they wanted access to my patents too. There was zero reason for me to stick around town. I had plenty of friends who'd help if I asked, but I wasn't about to lean on them. The only way out of this mess was to grind my way up and show up fresh somewhere new. Starting over at 43 wasn't ideal, but it was what I had to do. About a week later, my lawyer, Bob Carson, called. He'd just come back from the DA's office where Edward was throwing a fit, screaming that I should be arrested for embezzlement, fraud, and grand theft. Bob told the DA and Edward straight up that all the money was still in a Tyndall account that had been active for years. Every dime belongs to the company. Nothing's been taken out. Edward just needs to put someone else on the account. Yeah, I knew that old fool would have to fly out to the Cayman Islands for that. And the guy absolutely hates flying, especially over the ocean. A month after Carol got the divorce papers, Bob asked if I'd gotten back to her. I laughed. No way. Haven't answered her calls, texts, emails, letters, or even smoke signals. 2 things were holding up the divorce. Carol was fighting me on taking the college fund in Sam's car. Even Bob said a judge might not approve it. I told him, fine, they can have half the fund. If that's not enough, I'm suing for fraud. I was led to believe I was Sam's dad. I've paid for everything for 16 years. I'll sue Carol, Eric, Sally, and Edward. I might not win, but the media's going to have a field day dragging the Tyndall's dirty laundry all over social media. A week later, Bob said Carol was ready to sign the papers. If I'd spend an hour with her. I guess she wanted to justify her actions or maybe apologize. Either way, I didn't want to see or talk to her again. But if I was going to wipe the slate clean, I needed to cut all legal ties with her and anyone named Tyndall, with the condition that only Carol and I would be in that meeting. I said fine. I also insisted on recording the whole thing on video. It might sound paranoid, but after 17 years of silently putting up with crap, I wasn't taking any chances. At 3 in the damn afternoon the next week, I pulled that rental car right into my old driveway. No shady cars lurking, no eyes I didn't want to see, just me, stepping back into what used to be mine. The front door swung open like she was waiting, like she knew exactly when I'd show up. Between us, 2 thick stacks of papers lay on the floor. Official nonsense meant to burn our marriage to ashes. Romance? Dead as a freaking doornail. This was just the last sorry act. She offered me a drink like we were still friends or something. I didn't even hesitate. No. Not because I was polite, but because I didn't give a flying F about pretending anymore. Didn't ask how she was, didn't care. All right, I said, voice flat as a slab. I'm here. You want to start? She dove into that goddamn breakup sermon like a priest reading scripture. 15 minutes of, I'm sorry. Can we fix this? Crap. Boring as hell. I tried counting her sorries, but lost track at 20. Probably went past 50. Then she got desperate. Pulled out some dusty history lesson about Edward forgiving my mom. I scribbled on her envelope. 1 apology less than 17 years, 24 times a year. That's 408 damn apologies. Didn't even look up. She sniffled. That's not that many times, Joe. I gave her my best raised eyebrow. Oh yeah, show me the math then. Her voice dropped, trembling like a scared kid. Too many, way too many. No fire in my eyes, just emptiness. Like I was done with this pathetic crap. She tried to bait me. Got any questions? I looked her dead in the eyes and spit. Why? She sucked in a shaky breath like she was about to confess some crime. Your dad, Edward, he had to keep the Tyndall name alive. When I was trying to get Sam, I still hoped you'd be the one to knock me up. Wanted your baby, wanted us forever. But I blew it. I almost laughed in her face. Almost called her the filthy hooker Edward hated. But, nah, let her stew in her own filth. I don't buy that disgusting nonsense, Carol. Eric's kid binding the family? That's the biggest joke I ever heard. she fired back, voice shaking with some twisted pride. So all that sneaking around with Eric after? That was your idea of keeping us together? Real classy, huh? Secretly humiliating me? I snapped, voice dripping with venom. No, Carol, that crap was all about me. I was your husband. You swore off screwing around, but you broke every goddamn promise. What's wrong with you thinking cheating's okay? Is it okay to leave me in the dark? She stumbled for words. Nonsense! I cut her off, yelling loud enough to shake the walls. It was everything about me. You betrayed me, wrecked us. And you think it's all right? She hung her head, voice small and weak. I'm sorry, Joe. I meant it's more about me than you. When I got pregnant with Eric, I realized he wasn't even half the lover you are. I stopped seeing him right after. All the fun? That was with you because you're the man I love. I scoffed, bitter as poison. So, you went back to him because I was too damn good? Damn pathetic. Tell me the whole sad A story about needing the bad boy to knock you off your high horse. Go on. I got all damn day for your sob story about some big bad dude who got you. She took a shaky breath. Joe, I love you. I know I wrecked it, but I'm flawed. I'm too damn successful sometimes. Think I'm better than everyone else. Lose my damn compassion and turn into a witch. Eric, he kept me in line. And yeah, your parents pushed me to get pregnant by him instead of you. I sneered. So you got bred like some damn farm animal? She flinched. Maybe. No tears, no nonsense. Just raw truth. I packed my crap and left. Before I walked out, she yelled, to sum it up, yeah, I went back to Eric because I hated myself. Needed him to knock me down a peg, used him like some damn therapist, and I'm sorry. I regret hurting the best man I ever met, you. Maybe someday, when all this crap is behind us, you'll remember the good times. I turned back, smirked cold and sharp. Sounds like a damn fairy tale to me. At least now I got most of the facts. Or do I? She whispered, voice barely audible. You know everything now. I was stumbling toward the door, barely able to keep my balance, leaving behind a messy trail of chunks of meat and pasta. My legs felt like jelly. Carol's sobbing filled the room, raw, desperate, like nails on a chalkboard. And it pounded in my ears so loud I thought I might crack. She was clearly furious about the puke all over her pristine carpet and her favorite dress. I barely cared. That was her problem. The mess I left behind wasn't just physical. It was the wreckage of everything we'd built, everything I thought we had. My lawyer had to completely redo the divorce papers because no judge would even look at the originals. They were too messy, too full of legal landmines and emotional wreckage. 2 weeks later, the divorce was signed and sealed. I walked away with half of the college fund and the money from the car. Carol got to keep that house until Fool Sam graduated. I'm pretty sure Sam was pissed off, but since he didn't want me in his life anymore, I and all my money were effectively erased from the picture. I wasn't his dad. I flat out refused to pay child support. If the court insisted, I was prepared to switch my claim to infidelity and sue every last Tyndall for fraud and deceit. Nobody wanted that kind of circus in public. I was already ashamed just carrying the Tyndall name. During those dark months of self-imposed isolation, I wrestled with a gnawing question. Should I watch those video files I downloaded from Eric's office? The videos that confirmed everything I feared about Carol's betrayal. I still wasn't ready to face the raw truth of her cheating, let alone sit through footage of two people I despise having a laugh at my expense. Each file was labeled carefully, and when I saw one marked Syndra, my blood ran cold. It was a small file, but it felt like a punch right to the gut. Syndra was the wife of one of my oldest and closest friends, John Brown. John was a couple years older, a star athlete, while I was the stereotypical nerd. We barely ran in the same circles until I was roped into tutoring him for an English class he was struggling with. He was brilliant in math and science, but got totally lost in literature and essay writing. Over that semester, we became friends. After college on a soccer scholarship, he came back to town to care for his aging parents. When he asked if there were any jobs available, I was happy to recommend him. He got hired at our store, and our friendship picked back up. A couple years ago, things took a bad turn in John and Syndra's marriage. From what I heard, Syndra got completely wasted at a bachelorette party and hooked up with some random guy. When she got home, humiliated beyond belief, she told John right away. But by then, they had 2 little boys. Divorce wasn't on the table. It would have been a disaster. That small video started with Syndra stumbling into a hotel room. I was surprised. I actually felt respect for her after seeing it. It explained why John hadn't left her. Eric was the one having his way with Syndra, completely silent in the footage. John had always wanted answers. Now I had proof if he ever wanted revenge. I invited John over to my apartment for a serious talk. After a couple of beers, he asked me about that secret I'd mentioned. Without hesitation, I said, "John, I came across a video of your wife with another guy. She looked totally wasted. I can either tell you who it was or show you the video, or both. Which hurts less?" I asked him bluntly. John sat back and stared at the floor for a long minute, trying to process. Tears welled up in his eyes, and his breathing went deep and ragged. I put a hand on his shoulder but said nothing. Then, finally, in a voice barely above a whisper, he said, "Who was it?" I looked him straight in the eyes. "It was Eric. Your wife was with my brother, Eric." John's face twisted in disbelief. "But she hates him. She calls him a real a-hole. Why would she do that with Eric?" His voice cracked with confusion. "Like I said, John, she wasn't herself. Watch the video and you'll see she didn't want it to happen," I said. He watched the video carefully. Then he recognized the other man, a nameless stranger who'd been at the bachelorette party years before. Sindra didn't know his name, and neither did Eric. When I told John the story, Sindra broke down sobbing but tried to keep her voice steady. John asked quietly, "Why would Eric feel the need to entertain his employee's wife like that?" She explained it was a one-time thing. Eric never reached out again. "My guess," I told John, "is Eric didn't care about names. He didn't even know her last name. He just wanted one thing." John stood up, shaken but grateful. "Thanks, Joe. That actually helps a lot. I'm glad I forgave her back then. She was so upset and sorry. Now that I know the truth, I don't know if I should tell her or not. I guess I'll just have to figure that out myself." "Mind if I keep the video?" John asked quietly. "Of course," I said. "I think it's the only copy I've got." John smirked a little. "You won't be mad if Eric starts having a few accidents soon?" he joked. I grinned. "Hey, be cool." "That'd be perfect. I already kicked his A once," John laughed. "So I'd be the prime suspect. Make sure I have an alibi," I teased back. John laughed even harder. "Thanks, Joe. You're like a brother to me." "Yeah," I said, "and you're a way better brother than the one I got stuck with." We hugged, and as he left, he said over his shoulder, "Don't be a stranger." I didn't spend much time watching the videos of Carol and Eric. After that, they dragged me down and ruined my mood every time. When the moment came, I deleted every single file with Carol's name on it. I didn't want those two idiots in my life any longer, but fate had other plans. One day my finger slipped and I hit play instead of delete. What I saw was worse than anything I had imagined in my darkest nightmares. 2 weeks later, John dropped by for a beer. He thanked me for answering questions that had haunted him for years, and for proving Sindra hadn't cheated. He had an idea to use the remaining videos to expose other cheating wives and help husbands ruined by Eric's reckless behavior. I gladly handed over the rest of the disgusting tapes. Meanwhile, my job search was finally bearing fruit. One of Tyndall's biggest competitors called me out of the blue and invited me for an interview 100 miles away. That call was the first real flicker of hope I'd felt in ages. I told them I was ready to meet any time, any day. Donan Corporation was helmed by Tim Donan, CEO and president. When I first met him, he shook my hand firmly and said, "Don't call me Mr. Donan, just Tim." That threw me off a bit, but it set the tone right away. Straightforward, no fuss. The meeting with Tim went better than I expected. He offered me a generous package that matched what my peers were getting. Good benefits, solid salary, the whole deal. No complaints. But there was one catch. Tim told me, "Before we make this official, you've got to meet with Mickey D. Reynolds, our head of resources. She's going to run you through a personality assessment." Given the last few months of my life, I wasn't exactly jumping for joy at the idea of someone poking around in my head and personality. Still, it was part of the process. So the next morning, sharp at 10 a.m., I showed up for my meeting with Mickey D. Reynolds. I quickly learned she wasn't just head of resources, she was the owner of the whole damn company. Reynolds Resources didn't just handle personality tests, they managed recruiting, corporate governance, compliance, and all the behind-the-scenes reporting for Donan and manufacturing. Tim joked, "Makes my life easy. Me, the engineer, I'd rather be buried in blueprints than paperwork." Walking into their office was like stepping into the future. It was sleek, clean, high-tech, nothing like the noisy, cluttered production floor I was used to at Donan. I gave the receptionist my name, offered her a coffee and a seat on the comfy couch while I waited. Just being there made me feel like I'd stepped into a different league. Then Mickey D walked in. She was stunning. Early 30s, sharp eyes that missed nothing, a confident smile. She stuck out her hand and said, "Relax, Joe. I get the nerves. No need to be all stiff." I shook her hand, trying to hide my jitters. Her grip was firm but warm, the kind that tells you she's in control but approachable. We sat down, and for the next couple hours we talked. About me, about what made me tick, my engineering style, what I liked, what stressed me out. The conversation was polite, even pleasant, like two old friends catching up more than an interview. At one point, she leaned forward and said carefully, "So, Joe, I know you're not supposed to share personal stuff, but I want you to know the door's open if you want to tell me why you left Tyndall." I sighed, shrugged a little. I was being pushed around, passed over for president even though I was doing the work, and I was way underpaid. She nodded, understanding, then glanced at the clock. "Well, it's almost noon. You look like you could eat a horse. I'm going to send my report to Tim, and he'll reach out soon. Hey, would it be totally against company policy if I took you to lunch? Think of it like a little welcome tour." I smiled. "Sounds like a plan." She grinned slyly. "I'm glad you're on board." That lunch turned into several lunches, which turned into dinners, and eventually long nights of conversation and laughter. I wasn't rushing anything, I just enjoyed being around her, and from the way she smiled and leaned in when we talked, she seemed to enjoy it too. Meanwhile, back at Tyndall Manufacturing, things were sinking fast. The company had cash, sure, but it wasn't enough. Vendors and suppliers started demanding cash up front instead of the usual 14-day terms. The working capital was getting strangled. Edward was scrambling, pouring his own money in to keep things afloat. They owned 160 acres of land near the city, worth millions, but mortgaging it was unthinkable. That land had been in the family for over a century. Mortgages were the only thing that kept the lights on until Edward took a desperate trip to the Caymans to wrest control of the offshore funds. As the money started coming back, Mickey D slowly learned about the chaos shaking my life and business. She was sympathetic. Her world had been rocked too. Her husband, the founder of Reynolds Resources, was eliminated by a UPS truck 2 years earlier. She'd been left to hold the business together on her own. Shortly after, John told me Eric had been attacked in a dark parking lot near a bar. Meanwhile, working at Donan brought a fresh kind of joy into my life. I settled in quickly. No non-compete with Tyndall meant I quietly started courting their best customers. They knew I'd left but were happy to keep my number. I wasn't a slick salesman like Eric, but I knew exactly what those customers needed and how to deliver better, faster, and cheaper. Eric rarely talked to customers. Usually he was nursing some injury from a night out drinking. War. 6 months later, after my divorce was finalized, my relationship with Mickey D was strong. She wasn't just beautiful, she was intelligent, warm, and fun as hell. After many dates filled with deep talks, our nights grew more intimate, not wild or rushed, but full of soft touches, long strokes, and tender kisses. One night, she looked into my eyes and softly asked, "Shall we head out?" I smiled back. Absolutely. We went home and spent the night wrapped up in each other. Soon after, we decided it was time to rent an apartment together. Christmas was around the corner, so we planned to move in on New Year's Eve. Before that, though, she wanted me to meet her parents. She told them about me. "I'm dating this great guy," she said shyly, and they invited me over. That felt huge, like the first real chance I'd had at a family again, at a fresh start. I felt a tight knot in my stomach as we pulled up to the house. It was big, sure, but not flashy or showy. The kind of place that held years of family memories in its walls without shouting about it. I glanced sideways at Mickey D, who slid in front of me with that confident, effortless grace. She grabbed the arm of a man standing by the door. Gray slacks, a red Christmas sweater that looked like it belonged in a Hallmark movie, and a smile that warmed the whole porch. She turned slightly toward him and said, "Daddy, this is the man I love, Joe Tyndall." Then, as if it was the most natural thing, she said, "Joe, meet my father." I couldn't stop myself. I jumped in, half grinning and a little flustered. "Mr. Tim, right? I didn't know she was your daughter. Honestly, you caught me off guard. I don't even know what to say." Tim's laughter filled the air, deep, genuine, and unpretentious. "Just say, 'Good to see you, Joe,' and come on inside." I shook my head, still absorbing the surprise. "Seriously, though, Mickey, why didn't you tell me Tim was your dad? You don't think that's something I should have known?" She shot me a playful look. "Yeah, Joe, that's exactly why we kept it under wraps. We wanted to see if you were into me for me, not the money or the family name. And honestly, we didn't want the company gossip mill buzzing with he's dating the boss's daughter, the heir to the company. That kind of talk can ruin things before they start." I nodded slowly, processing. She went on to tell me about her younger brother, a quiet kid who tragically passed away at 16, a shadow that hung over the family. I cleared my throat and asked, "So, what does it mean? Being invited to Christmas dinner with your parents? Is this personal? Business? How does it affect what we've got?" Her eyes softened as she said, "Joe, it means I love you. I want you to meet my family. Business is business, but family, that's everything. Since you told me you don't have much family yourself, I want you to spend Christmas with mine. It's important to me." I gave a small laugh, shaking my head in amazement. "All right, now I get it. Mickey D is short for Dunnan. Honestly, I'm still trying to figure all this out." She giggled, nudging me gently. "Maybe you should put a deed in your name so it's Dunnan." We all cracked up, real laughter that made the tension vanish. After the laughter faded, the day drifted by with easy conversation and genuine smiles. I enjoyed chatting with Tim and Mickey's mom, Barbara. It felt like real family, something I hadn't felt in years. I was rusty at this kind of thing, but I walked away thinking my asking for Mickey's hand would be welcomed. As for Mickey, I was certain she'd say yes, but after all I'd been through, I wasn't about to take that for granted. And sure enough, my instincts were right. One night, Mickey suddenly jumped from the couch and rushed over to me, her eyes shining bright with excitement. I dropped to one knee and opened a blue velvet box, revealing a sparkling ring. She shouted, "Yes, yes, yes, yes." 3 months later, we held a small wedding. Nobody from my side of the family showed up except John, Sindra, and a few new friends I'd made. After a dreamy honeymoon in the Caribbean, we returned to my apartment to start our new life. One of Mickey's first decisions was to get off birth control. We agreed it'd be a while before my boys met her baby, so we took it slow. Then we went to the courthouse to get her name changed. Mickey D. Reynolds officially became Mickey Donen again, her maiden name. With the world becoming more open about gender, marriage, and personal identity, I decided to change my name too, to Joseph Timothy Donen. When we told Tim, he was overwhelmed. Tears filled his eyes as he whispered, "Thank you, son." Meanwhile, my friend John stumbled across a file, a video of Carol having fun with Eric. The discovery lit a fire inside him. A week later, Carol was walking the school hallway between classes when she suddenly heard sharp, jarring barking. It was weird, out of place. Turning, she saw a group of high school boys smirking, clearly up to something. Suddenly, from another group came more barking. Bark, bark, bark. Remembering the school mascot was a bulldog, she guessed Friday night football festivities were kicking off. The moment she entered the office, the barking stopped. Silence ruled for 2 hours, but as soon as she stepped back out, the barking returned with a vengeance, echoing down the hall like she'd walked into a kennel full of wild dogs. At lunch, occasional howls mixed with non-stop barking. Oddly, none of the other staff seemed to notice. But the next morning, stepping onto the concrete parking lot, it felt like someone cranked 50 speakers blasting dog barks at full volume. She hurried inside, eyes glued to the floor, avoiding everyone's gaze. She sighed deeply as the heavy door slammed shut behind her. Walking toward her office, a voice sliced through the silence. "Bark like a dog, witch. Bark like a dog." The voice was deep, rough, familiar. It sounded like Eric. What the hell was he doing here? Why those words? It hit her like a ton of bricks. The leaked video had gotten out. She jumped and whispered, "Oh, crap." What the hell do I do now? My job, my career, my reputation? They're all on the line. Everything's about to be torn apart. She slammed her office door and leaned back against it, heart hammering. Were the other staff smirking? Did they know? Who had seen the video? What was she supposed to do next? Right in the middle of the first period, as the hallways started clearing out, Carol practically bolted from her office. Over her shoulder, she shouted, "I feel sick. I'm going home." Nobody doubted her. She sounded awful, but she wasn't headed home. No way. Instead, she tore down the street, her engine roaring all the way toward Tyndall's factory like a storm about to break. She burst into Eric's office like a whirlwind, her voice booming through the room. "Did you leak that damn video of us having fun? If you did, I swear I'm gonna eliminate you." Eric saw the fire burning behind her eyes and panicked. No, Carol. I've got them all right here. I'm the only one with copies." He jabbed at the keyboard, pulling up a file on the screen. She was shaking with fury. "You stupid a-hole. We've been hacked. They got into the whole damn network. I'm ruined. How can life possibly get any worse?" Her sobs broke through, raw and desperate. She crumpled to the floor, overwhelmed, lost. Eric dashed out, sprinting toward his father's office. The two men exchanged grim looks before heading back toward her. "Carol," the two of them said like they'd rehearsed it, "let's get you back inside. Shut that door and get back to work." And with that cold practicality, they carried her away, leaving the howling chaos behind closed doors.